Hello, viewers, and welcome to the latest episode of The Huddle. Tim Poole here, editor of Gambling Insider, and I'm speaking with Tom Light, CEO of First Sportsbook. Going to give a very passionate discussion about his products, talking about custom profiling, talking about bet builders, microbetting, and a lot more in terms of online sports betting and the latest trends. Enjoy. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Looking forward to speaking to you all about the sports betting industry and what you guys do. To start off with, can you tell us about your background, because you obviously bring plenty of experience from the sports betting side?
So I've been doing some sort of sports betting and iGaming in the last 19 years. I joined about 11 years ago. I joined a company called SBTech. I was leading it all the way to the merger with DraftKings. Later on, started my own ventures. And now here we are with First Best in Sports. A lot of years of experience between myself and the team, over 500 employees, out of them over 200 live traders, providing tier one B2B sports betting for operators.
Mm-hmm. It's a very competitive space, but as you mentioned, you're billing yourselves as First Best in Sports. How are you, looking to differentiate and use all those resources to stand out in the market?
It's funny you say that. In my opinion, it's not a very competitive space, the B2B sports betting market today. I think if you look at all the markets, right? So let's say we look at the whole iGaming industry. We look at casinos, live dealer, casino aggregators, CRM, PAM platforms. You'll see all, and if you look kind of like the top tier operators, the biggest ones out there, right? The likes of Bet365, Betano, DraftKings, FanDuel, Pinnacle, all the top ones. They're all using B2B providers. They're all using, casinos like Pragmatic and Playtech and PG. They use Evolution for Live. They use the casino aggregators. They use the same payment solutions. They'll use PAMs, etc. And you'll see that each and every one of them is not using a B2B sports betting provider, which kind of doesn't really make the logical sense. The logical sense would be like one strong T1 B2B sports betting provider that invests everything in the sports betting product, and they'll provide to multiple operators. That makes financial sense. For every operator, T1 operator, to build his own sportsbook from scratch is essentially like, for me, building a whole 500-meter gym just for me. It has no financial sense. And the reason it's happening is because the B2B sports betting market today is not competitive. The products that are today in the market are not being selected by T1 operators. They're always below what you see with the T1. So if you'll see any one of the sports betting providers is not able to really compete with the internal products of 365, of Betano, of DraftKings, etc. What we offer, the message of First, is very, very clear and very easy. We offer the sports betting product that as an operator, you can compete with all the top T1s on product, on sports, which you're not able to do with any of the other providers. So for example, if I'm a new local operator and I want to compete with 365 on slots, I can also get the same slots that they have. If I want to compete with them on live dealer, can also get Evolution like they have. But if I want to compete with them on sports, the obvious choice was to go with one of the B2B providers, which is a lower tier, second, third, fourth tier. Now with First Best in Sports, you can compete with these giants head to head with a T1 sports betting product.
Mm-hmm. So given that thesis, given everything you've just said there, in terms of specifically what you're offering in terms of the product, can you tell us some features that, back that up in terms of this is what we're offering, this is, meets the standards that the operators need?
Sure. So we are our own sports betting engine. So we're not using, you'll see most of the providers out there, they're not doing their own sports. They'll use like a product like an MTS or other sportsbook. They'll create some front end around it and they'll call themselves a sportsbook company, which is fine, which is good. I'm happy for these companies. It's very good as a kind of like gateway into sports. So casino operators that don't really understand anything about sports, very good for them to enter the market. We at First Best in Sports, we usually don't take startup. So we want someone who's more experienced. And I think that these companies do us a lot of service and a lot of good by helping different small casino operators and startup enter the sports betting market. But at a certain stage, you kind of need to level up to have your own engine, to be able to control your own trading, risk management, product features, gamification, proper bet builders, proper markets, cash out, early payouts, all the things, all the features and functionalities that the tier one sportsbook are offering, you want to offer. Also, on the back end, you want to have a very strong engine, because it's okay if a casino operator offers what, and this is what I see today in the market. They'll offer these non-competitive odds to be safe, because their trading, the risk management is not as good, but it's not very attractive to the users. The real users, the smart users, the punters, they're looking for competitive odds. We see now with some of our operators, you go on bet7k.com, that's a Brazilian operator that switched on from another provider to us. Their odds on the main leagues are higher than Betano, and they're ROI positive. They're able to offer extremely high payout. We're increasing their volume, their rollover, their turnover, and we're providing them with proper risk management and trading. We're giving them positive margin and increase of lifetime value per player on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. If we're to extrapolate that in terms of the trends that players kind of want to see at the moment, online sports betting, what are the biggest things you're seeing? And I understand, there's some things you might have to say about gamification, which you've already touched on very briefly as well.
So, I mean, there's a big shift toward everything revolving around bet builders. And I think specifically even for bet builders, what users want to see is these kind of like predefined bet builders. Because to set up your own bet builders is interesting, it's fun, and it's good, but it can be a little bit tedious. I have to go into bet builder mode. I have to start selecting the right bets, finding things that actually connect with each other in a way that's going to be interesting for me. There's different types of correlations, right? So if I'm going to connect a bet builder and I'm going to say, okay, I want to have over 2.5 goals and X amount of throw-ins per team, right? These two can, and let's say they're both 3.0 and 3.0. If I connect them, I'll get odds of 9. Why? Because their correlation value is 0, right? But if I'm going to connect Miami to win and Messi to score, right? These have very high correlation. This is, let's say, 3.0. That's 3.0. I'm not going to get odds of 9. I'm going to get odds of 3 point something, because the correlation is very strong. But correlation doesn't go from 0 to 1. It also goes from 0 to -1. What if I do Miami to win and Messi to score no, right? So then the odds should be higher than 9, right? It's reverse correlation, should be 12. So the whole mathematics about bet builder is very important. And also what we do, we have what we call these predefined bet builders. So we're creating on a daily, on an hourly basis, bet builders for the players, so they can just on a click of a button get a very interesting bet builder that they want to see on the most upcoming featured match. And we allow operators to create these types of bet builders as well for their players. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the trends, yeah?
Yeah. Really interesting. I mean, I'm a bet builder user myself. I like the choice when it comes to sports matches. And actually, my very next question was going to be about kind of bet builders, but also some conversations I've had recently. Bet builders are for players who want the choice, who want to look at the stats. But then you've also got more of a trend of kind of microbetting, where someone who might not want to look at the stats, or someone who might think, right, in the next minute, I want to bet whether this happens, yes or no. In terms of those, I guess, competing trends or interests, which do you think might have the most potential for the industry?
It's funny you gave this example, because the fast markets, the 1 minute markets, were invented by us in SBTech. So by the team that now most of this team is with me at First Best in Sports. We've invested in the fast markets. We've invented the fast markets, the 1 minute markets. The pulse betting, which was a very known fast market, was invented by myself. Yeah, one night came to it, and now it's an industry standard. So yeah, we do see the value of 1 minute markets, so ball by ball. For me, I'm not even saying it because it became a norm. I know that most of the sports betting providers today, they don't really offer it in a high level, but in my opinion, it's a norm. It's a norm with all the tier one operators. We're looking not just on 1 minute markets, but also to take some of the things that that were usually a full-time market and changing their time frame. For example, goal scorer was historically a full-time market. Now we do halftime goal scorers. Now we do next goal scorers. So we're trying to kind of convert and mix and match some of these new innovative markets with different types of time frames in order for the experience to be a little bit more fast, gamified. Obviously, there's microbetting. Microbetting is the big industry, but there's also problems, right? So if I'm gonna take a microbet, for example, if the goalkeeper will kick the ball beyond the half line or before the half line, it's something that's very easy to fix, and it's something that's very easy. And a lot of the times you don't have the proper integrity within the right team, so you have to kind of manage the risk in a very smart way. We are offering micro betting. We have multiple providers giving us the type of micro betting, but we are looking into how to manage the risk on these types of bets, where you offer a certain limitation for different type of players in order kind of not to expose yourself into dirty bets.
Yeah, no, really interesting kind of discussion on that area. And I suppose bet builders and micro bets almost two different parts of the same coin. But as anything, you've got to keep the offerings as wide as you can, because you want to attract different players.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes across the whole sportsbook. So what we see, and that's usually how the current B2B providers are looking at sports betting, they'll look at a thing called integrity, right? If it's a integrity of leagues or of markets, they'll take big bets. If there's no integrity, they're not going to take any bets. They're going to limit you to £5 bets, right? The problem with this approach is that 95% of the leagues don't have integrity. We just recently seen even things on EPL, So we need to kind of approach this and tackle this issue from another direction, right? The way that we look at things, we look at customer profiling. So you're going to bet with us after 2, 3, 4, 5 bets, but mainly based on so many KPIs. I'm able to detect if you're a smart punter or if you're a recreational one. And then if you're a smart punter, I might be even cautious with you on NBA. But if you're a recreational one, I might allow you to bet big on micro betting, on Indonesian third division, for example, because I see that your betting pattern is not abusive, you're not trying to rob, you're not trying to scam, you have a recreational betting pattern, which our systems, with all knowledge, know how to do that, and we kind of limit it by the customer. So the way that we solve it is that we don't look at integrity like most of the B2B sports betting provider. We're going with a more 365 Betano approach, which we look at the customers.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Want to switch to talk a little bit about geographical markets. So I want to focus on Latin America, and given we're talking about integrity, a lot of those markets are the IBIA are only just signing kind of agreements there, and obviously massive sports interest across Brazil, but other markets too. Can you start off, tell us a little bit about your progress in LATAM so far, and maybe some of those plans as well?
So we've launched in LATAM a few months ago. Already more than 30 regulated operators have migrated and already live with us. There's been 101 national applications for the Brazilian license. I would assume, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume about 50 or 60 of them will actually get the license. Just because I know a lot of companies such as Betway, etc., that are dropping off the race. Other companies are required to pay back taxes. They might not decide not to do that. So I'll give a rough estimate. About 50 or 60 companies will get the license. Out of these 50 or 60 companies, we're already live with 23 regulated Brazilian operators. That's in a course of 3 to 4 months since we've launched there. So it's an amazing result. We allow, unlike the other providers, we allow each one of the operators to create their own front end and compete with each other, to have their own odds and risk management and compete with each other on odds. So we give them a very, very strong engine, but they themselves decide on the front end. They themselves decide on the odds strategy, on the risk management. So we just giving them the tools and the ammos, and they're able to have their own unique offering. So, and we've seen a lot of success in other Latin American markets. In the next few weeks or months, we're gonna um, go live with many of the Latin American regulated markets. You will see it. We're not one of these companies that are doing a lot of PR. So to this date, out of 23 Brazilian operators that we went live with, I think we've done a press release only with one that they've asked for. We're not very like rushing around telling which operators went live with us. We believe more of people kind of understanding who we are, seeing our product, watching the content that we're doing, interviews like this one, and coming to us based on the product and the professional service that we give, not specifically because we've won some tenders or deals.
Absolutely. If you mentioned obviously Brazil, we can't not mention Brazil at the moment. Plenty of different markets that you know the potential to go into and that you might be into already. But if we're to look at some specific ones, some conversations we've had recently are obviously in Latin America. It's tempting to just say we're live here in LATAM, but Mexico, Chile, Peru, Brazil, all very different. How do you guys kind of go about, I guess, tailoring and localizing the offerings to different customers?
Well, that's a very good question. So we look at every single market as its own. So if you look at Brazil, football is not number one in Brazil. Football is a religion. You have to understand. You go to Brazil. There's a football match. There's an important football match. You go to an office. Everyone stops working. They'll stop. They'll go to watch the game. It's a religion. Now you would say, yeah, second sports is basketball. Where it isn't like most of the sports, right? So it goes between, depends on where you are, right? So on the beach areas, they'll go towards the volleyball, right? On other areas in the north, they'll go to vaquejada. Vaquejada is where kind of like bull chasing. With some of our Brazilian operators, it's the second largest sport. Now you would expect basketball to be big or even NBA to be big because of the hours. Well, it isn't in perspective to other markets, right? Then you go to Latin America. Now, Latin America is different, right? So Peru and Argentina is very, very different from Mexico. Now we're going live with a few big Mexican regulated operators. In Mexico, everything is different, right? It's more towards American sports. It's American view, right? The team names are switched over. It's this at this, right? We're looking about different odds styles, American odds. We're looking at different, so we're used to, right? Single combo system bet builder. In Mexico, you have teaser bets, right? So completely different, unique approach for each one of these Latin American markets, and they all act in a different way. So for example, Peru. One of the things that we're doing in Peru, we have a tab called Peruvian players playing away, right? So Peruvians away. The Peruvian people want to have a very easy way to kind of check all the games where Peruvian players are playing away. Now, if I'll do the same thing in Brazil, I'll almost get all the teams, right? Because there's so many Brazilians. So we try to really custom tailor a solution for that market. That goes on online and that goes on retail. We have a very strong retail system, from a cashier to terminals SSBT and to a full omni-channel, right? So a player goes in Peru, he goes into the shop, he places a bet, he goes back home, he goes on his mobile, he can partial cash out, play some more, go back to the shop, play on the SSBT, withdraw the money, take cash, etc., right? So it's a full omni-channel solution, second screen one.
Fantastic. A final area from me. Always like to look ahead in these at the end of these interviews. 2025. In terms of product or roadmap, what kind of plans can you tell us about? And obviously, I'm sure you're not just looking at 2025. What are you kind of aiming for beyond?
So, I mean, today for us, the major part was for us in 2024 is to allow our operators to compete with the likes of 365, Betano, FanDuel, etc. That was our main priority. What we want to do for 2025 is push more where we are the front runners. So gamification. We just released a gamification report about everything we did in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of gamification, from whatever we do in loyalty that has never been done before, mystery boxes, challenges, all these different things that we're doing in gamification to really move away sports betting from a cold and transactional experience to a more gamified personal, engaged experience. I mean, when you go and do sports betting, it's no longer like going to the shop, paying, and getting a receipt. I want you to be a part of the game. I want you to feel that you're there, that you're in this type of experience. What we're trying to do, and this correlates with how we compete with the big ones, right? We want to compete with the big ones by offering higher odds. What happens when you offer higher odds? Margin goes down. How do you attack margin going down? You increase rollover. How do you increase rollover? By gamification. So, for example, if we're able to increase, and that's what we've done with one of our operators, number of bets per month per player from 40 bets to 110 bets. So we almost tripled the amount of bets. Even though we're purposefully reducing the margin by offering competitive odds, we're generating the same lifetime value. So it goes hand in hand, right? I'm competing with the big ones on odds. I'm creating a gamified experience to increase rollover, which creates a better engaging, better experience for the user, right? If I'll go to the casino, even if I'm coming and say, okay, I'm going to have $100 here. I want to lose it today. Do I want to play two hands and lose it in black? Or I want to have a really good fun night, 3 hours, play, go back and forth. And even if I win or lose, it doesn't matter. But I had the whole experience. So that's what we want to create. We want to create an experience. We want to create more engagement, more time on the app, time on the site, instead of just something like I'm just logging into the sportsbook, placing a bet and going out, right? So that's, for me, the 2025 aspect is to increase time on device.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tom, thanks very much for your time. All sounds really good. Sounds really cool, really interesting kind of takeaways. And best of luck with everything you're looking to achieve.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thanks for watching.